Katie, and I am a reference librarian for the Worcester branch of the Wayne County Public Library. And today I am here to review a novel I just finished, and that is The City Beautiful by Aden Polydoros. So this novel was so interesting to me, in part because of its setting. So this is a historical fiction novel, and we do kind of joke in the library world that the majority of historical fiction novels take place during World War II, but this does not. This takes place in 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair. So our main character is Alter Rosen. He is a young Jewish man who has just come to America about a year ago when the novel starts, from Romania, in part because Jewish people were being oppressed in the town he was from. His dream is to earn enough money at his job at the printing press where he works that he can bring over his mother and his twin little sisters to Chicago and then finally be reunited as a family. And he is about 2/3 of the way to his monetary goal, where he'll be able to pay for passage and food and all of that for 3 people to come to Chicago. So Alter, especially to save money, lives with several other young Jewish immigrants, including his best friend and crush, but he doesn't want to admit the whole crush part of this, Yakov. Alter and Yakov and then 2 other young Jewish men live together, and unfortunately, really early in the novel, Yakov becomes the latest victim in a line of murdered Jewish boys and men. So obviously, Alter is deeply affected. This was his closest friend here in the United States. He had just seen him. They'd actually gone to the World's Fair together. And so he's already sad and kind of on edge. All right, so Alter, when he's not working, volunteers at his local shul, which is another word for temple. Specifically, he volunteers in helping prepare the bodies of the deceased. Now, we learn that Alter does this because of the guilt he feels due to his father's death while on that ship to America. So he wasn't able to give his father a proper Jewish burial. He had to have a burial at sea. But Alter feels like if he volunteers to help prepare the bodies, then he can give these local Chicago Jewish people a proper burial. So he's at the shul, working with other volunteers to help prepare these bodies for burial when Yakov's body comes in. And so by now, the police have closed the case. They have concluded that Yakov's death was an accident. They think that Yakov somehow, while at the fair, fell into this shallow canal and drowned, and he must have drowned because there were all these ropes wrapped around him. But it becomes very clear to Yakov and the other volunteers that maybe something more was going on, because there are bruises all over Yakov's body, including a very thick rope burn on Yakov's neck. And so Alter starts to think the police were probably very wrong in their assessment, or that they are ignoring what's going on. So it is while washing Yakov's body that, of course, seeing your friend like that, you become very emotional, and Alter actually falls into the water that they're using. And here is where the book takes a really unique supernatural twist. So while in the water, Alter actually sees and experiences Yakov's final moments. And we learn later that it was while he was experiencing Yakov's, not hallucinating, he feels like he's truly there, that he actually gets possessed by Yakov's dybbuk. So a dybbuk was something I didn't know anything about as a non-Jewish person, but the author Aden Polydoros and a quick Google search taught me a lot about dybbuks in Jewish mythology. They are a spirit belonging to a dead person. They're often seen as something malicious, and that is because a dybbuk would like to permanently take over the body of whom they're possessing. Now, why would someone become a dybbuk? Much like your typical ghost lore, it's because something has happened and they have some loose ends they need to tie up. And the only way for Alter to get rid of this dybbuk, whether or not he was his friend or not, is through possession or by tying up those loose ends. So, like I said, it's a really interesting twist. At this point, Alter, kind of with Yakov always in his mind, decides to investigate, of course, what has actually been happening to not just Yakov, but all of these young Jewish men and boys that have died or disappeared. Along the way, he befriends his neighbor, 15-year-old Raizel, and she's fantastic. And then he also reconnects with Frankie. So Frankie is a former friend who does not always follow Jewish or American laws. And so with only a few weeks to spare before Yakov's dybbuk fully takes over, this trio, or I will even say an unlikely trio, has to track down a killer before that killer can claim them first. So I really enjoyed Alter as a character, and I connected with him right away. While he struggles with being a young queer Jewish immigrant, and that's obviously something I will never experience. It's his devotion to his friends and family that is wholly relatable. And he's just that perfect amount of awkward and adorable. So Yiddish is his primary language, and he can speak a little bit of English and a little bit of German. And so that does kind of provide a few cute moments. Raizel is fantastic. So she is also Jewish, but she has fully embraced American culture. She wants to work as a journalist, and she's well on her way because she actually already has a job at a local newspaper despite being so young. And then Frankie, our third member of our trio, is a really interesting character. I wasn't sure how I felt about him right away, but he's kind of like Fagin from Great Expectations, in that he has this crew of children that are working as pickpockets. And he actually does this, unlike Fagin, kind of out of kindness. So he's letting them get money, not in legal means, but it's a way to protect them from the appalling conditions in places like the slaughterhouses, or even worse criminal things that might happen to a child that's alone in, 19th century Chicago. So I will throw out some major trigger warnings, specifically for anti-Semitism, but also for physical violence, sexual abuse and sexual violence, and then gore. It's not a book for those of you who are squeamish. However, I will say in the end, this mystery is a gripping and fast-paced thriller that expertly weaves historical events with that really interesting supernatural mythological twist of the Jewish dybbuk storyline. And the result is a truly special novel that I could just not put down. So come check out The City Beautiful by Aden Polydoros. It is available here at Worcester as well as through Clevenet.